Okay, well yeah, our school project is we're doing an inquiry for our music class, pretty much an aspect of New Zealand music. So it's the way we can contribute our own information out to the world instead of copy pasting something else. So pretty much it was my idea to do the Tonga Poro and metal music. So I'm a big metal fan. So yeah, I just chose this sort of aspect, and you were the first band that came to mind when it came to this sort of stuff, and a big influence of mine as well.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, first question, why did you choose to use Tonga Poro in your music?
Thank you.
Basically, the whole idea came about, me and Lewis went to Kura Kaupapa from a very young age, and we were brought up around Tonga Poro and stuff, but we saw some of our mates playing in a reggae band doing Pacifica beats, and we kind of decided, we tried out with metal, and it kind of just made sense to include Tonga Poro in the music and everything. And Dad had Tonga Poro already, so we started using it, recording it to play before our songs and stuff. And actually for a little while before we actually started doing kind of touring shows and everything, we'd bring them to the shows we were doing, the one-off shows, and we'd play them live on stage. But obviously when they're Tonga, they're a little bit hard to bring on the road with you, because there's always that kind of risk of them being lost or stolen or whatever. I know. I don't know if you heard about Stan Walker's box of Tonga and stuff. He got stolen at a festival about a year ago. But yeah, there's always that thing to be aware of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I know some of your songs you do use them. The main one I know of is the Pututara at the start of Kaitangata.
Yeah.
What else do you use in your songs?
Well, obviously that's very upfront, it's the only thing going at that point in the song. So the Pututara, obviously, but then we also use Purirehua, and it's more of this ambient background kind of. It can be almost an evil, ominous sound, Purirehua, and you get that whooshing noise in the background, and so you kind of hear it behind some of the tracks, but some of them take a couple of listens through. And then Lewis plays a lot of kōwaua, which is your small home flute, and he generally he'll play that on a couple of tracks per album. There's songs like Te Ara, which heavily feature the kōwaua. It's almost like another instrument going through in the background. So awesome.
I've also noticed that the ambient wind one comes through quite a lot in Ahika. I've heard it quite a lot. Yeah. And also some parts in Hachipatu. I've heard it a couple times there as well.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, like I said, it creates this kind of ambience, which is quite hard to get with anything else. I'm sure you could use synthesizers and stuff, but it's a very Māori feeling thing. For anyone who's heard Māori music or even been in Aotearoa for any part of their life, they hear that and they instantly recognise it as something that sounds very Māori. So I feel like that's kind of the reason we gravitate towards that sound being used as opposed to synths and stuff.
Right. Speaking of sounds, have you ever wanted to try using different types of Tonga Poro or different cultures?
Yeah, well, I mean, for us at the moment, I feel like we want to expand the Tonga Poro, Māori Tonga Poro that we're using. There's still a lot that we don't use on the album, mainly because we don't have access to instruments to record and put on the album, but we're slowly kind of collecting bits and bobs and making them as well. So that's actually something that Lewis and I have made a few of, is kōwaua, bone and wood, and Tūranga's kind of into his Tonga Poro as well. So I don't know, I think we want to expand that first before delving into other kind of cultures and stuff. And I feel like if we were to ever do that, it would probably be more of a collaboration with another band that use their own and indigenous instruments.
Yeah. Will we expect to hear any of the Tonga Poro on the new album coming out soon?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tonga Puro is I would say, other than the fact that we sing in Te Reo Māori, it is one of the staples of that sound.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was saying before, it's a pretty integral part of what makes us feel Māori outside of us singing in Māori. It's people listen to it and they hear it, and it's a different sound for people who don't recognise it, and for people who live here, they go, know what that is, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, do you think the use of Tonga Poro has been a big reason of how you've become so recognisable overseas, or even the use of haka or other Māori aspects as well?
Yeah, well, in part, I think it's always going to be a combination of everything that makes the band Māori, because that does seem to be, I guess, the sticking point, or some people might say the gimmick of the band.
Yeah.
But it's something that sets us apart for sure. But yeah, the use of Tonga Puro, but also like Māori cadences as well, especially on the last album and this album we're about to release. We've got a lot of kind of, with the lyric writing, we're using more Māori sort of cadences and rhythms. So I wrote a song with a more tea in mind, which is like quite a drony, chanting sort of thing that you only tend to hear on the marae. So it's, again, just bringing the Māori sound into metal.
Yep.
Awesome.
And is there, I'm not sure if this would apply to all, but is there a significance in where and how they've been placed into the songs, or is it just where it would sound better?
Yeah, I mean, far out. You're asking me, and I only play a few of them through the album. So yeah, for us it is a feel thing, but it's the same way we decide whether to write music in Te Reo Māori or in English or both. It is partly a feel thing, and where we think it's going to work best.